saw this on my timeline that it's good news. It's really good news that I want to share with all of you. The cover and front page of the first printed Kui primer in Kui Gari script of Dainadi Malik. First off, if you guys are new here, if you guys have never watched my show before, I talk about South Asian news. I'm the Indian Hasanabi. I'm the Tamil Hasanabi. I'm talking about South Asian news. When can I watch the next stream? Next week. Next week. I stream on weekends only. Again, I stream on weekends. I would love to stream every day. Streaming doesn't pay the bills. For those of you who don't know what this is, so I've talked about an ethnic group called an indigenous group called the Dongria Khons on this channel before. Their language is called Kui. Kui actually is one of many indigenous languages of India that didn't have its own like writing system. So what now you're beginning to see a lot more often, Kui is the language of Southern Odisha, yes. Yeah, so now what you're beginning to see more and more often, especially like in the past century or so, is you're actually beginning to see in India people creating their own writing system for their own language. So I'll give you like probably the oldest relatively contemporary example of this is or rediscovering their writing script. So this is like the oldest, I mean not oldest form of this. So this is the oldest, I guess, invented script in India. And it's called Old Chiki. It's either this or it's Ol Onal, I don't remember. But what this is basically there's a language in India called Santali. Yeah, there's a language in India called Santali, which is actually a very distant cousin of Vietnamese and Cambodian and Khmer. It's a very distant relative of Vietnamese that is spoken in India, and it's an indigenous language. It's actually I believe it is the second largest indigenous ethnic group of India after the Gons, right? So the Old Chiki script was created by by this guy called Raghunath Murmu, and it was created in the 1900s to write his language. And this was totally this doesn't like this. Okay, so most of the major scripts that most of the scripts that India operates on, the Tamil script, Malayalam script, Telugu script, Devanagari, so on and so forth, they look very different, but they fundamentally operate the exact same way, almost the exact same way, except for Tamil. Tamil's a bit different, but most of the scripts in India fundamentally operate the exact same way, right? They operate like if you know how to write in one script, you can pick up another script relatively easy. It's just a matter of changing the shapes. But this is totally different. Yeah, Tamil works very similarly to the others, but there's a bit of nuance to it. This is totally different though. So this is a script that was written for that was created for an indigenous language called Santali. And this is not the only one. Okay? This was also created like relatively recently, this All Ono script. There's also this. This is the Tolong Siki script for Kuruk. Like you have multiple indigenous scripts getting their own writing script. And so this is a continuation of that tradition. You have the Kui language of Odisha that is getting its own script as well. They just published a book on how to write it. And this is the actual script. It's small news, but so the reason I'm talking about all of this, right? The reason I think this is really good news is because one, it's a script learning book. And then the other thing to keep in mind is that this increases literacy in the language. Is this new? This is new. This is very new. This is very new. This is very new. The book looks old. Yeah, because it's photocopied. Like an old scan? Yeah, the book itself was scanned. The book itself was scanned. That's why they published the book. Yeah, so this is new. This is really new, and this is very good. People are now actually going to be able to write using their own script, and they're going to get literate, and they're going to be literate in their own language, which is really cool. It's really cool. In the Indian context, what does indigenous person mean? It's a bit more complicated because everyone is basically native to India at this point, but indigenous are people that are considered to be the first inhabitants of India. But who's that guy? The guy is the guy who made the script, by the way. Is it recognized as an official language? No. It is not on the 8th schedule. There are languages in India that have millions of speakers that don't have 8th schedule status. This is one of them. India, no, 20, no. India has 23. 23. Actually, official languages, it has 2 official languages. It has 23 languages on the 8th schedule. So no government jobs in it. Nope. You can't. No government jobs, no nothing. I thought I might talk about this a little bit because, again, this doesn't get nearly enough. It's more cultural than ethnic, yeah. Like, Tamils have been in India for a very long time. Tamils are very native to India, but we're not indigenous. Tamils are not indigenous at all to India. We're not considered indigenous because Tamils have a different relationship with the land. Tamils have become a caste society. They have become a regimented society with different castes. So the relationship with the land is very different than, say, someone, like, Todas, for example. The relationship with the land is very different because Tamils have become basically a regimented society. They become, when people say civilized, or what should be referred to as, they become a caste society. They become a class-based society in that sense. They have become a highly regimented caste/class-based society. That's what Tamils have become. So Tamils are no longer indigenous to the land as much as, say, Irulas are. They become a caste-based society. And that's the same reason Meiteis are not considered indigenous either, because they become a regimented caste-based society.